Hello, and welcome to The Checkout. I'm Halie LeSavage, one of the writers here at Retail Brew. Today, we're discussing the evolution of the retail workforce in response to the COVID-19 pandemic with a very special guest. As I'm sure everyone who's watching is aware, this year has really reshaped how brick and mortar store experiences play out in the world of retail. And many of those changes have been brought on the retail workforce, all of the great store associates who bring our favorite brands to life. So, from new protocols for customer experiences to picking and packing orders for online deliveries from the store shelves, retail workers have had to radically change what they do and how they do it to meet the new demands of the COVID-19 pandemic environment and all that has come after. As we well know, those adjustments aren't going to go away just because it's 2021. And as retailers double down on store expansions, they're having to think about their workforce and how they create a work environment that's safe and effective for them in their new stores. One brand that we all know is in expansion mode at this moment is Warby Parker. This eyewear brand is adding 35 stores to its fleet of roughly 135 stores this year. And each of those stores is an environment where we'll see all of the adjustments to the retail workforce at play. So today we're going to be joined by Warby Parker co-CEO and co-founder, Dave Gilboa, to talk us through how Warby Parker is thinking about the evolution of its workforce in this environment. Dave, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
I'm so excited to dig into this topic with you, and I know 30 minutes can fly by fast, so let's just dive right into it. I want to start with a look back. A lot of change has happened over the past year, and your brand has been affected just like so many others, particularly with regards to your in-store workforce. So I want to hear a bit about the biggest impacts that the pandemic had on Warby Parker's store workforce specifically, and how you and your team of leaders at Warby Parker adapted to meet their needs.
Yeah, the pandemic clearly changed every aspect of how we engage as a team and how we engage with customers. And certainly our retail workforce was on the front lines for a lot of those changes. And it really started back in March of 2020 when we realized that this pandemic was going to be a lot worse than had been projected until that point, that there was still so much missing information around how the disease spread, how to keep people safe. But one thing we knew for sure was that continuing to operate our stores as we had been would potentially put our employees and our customers at risk from a health and safety standpoint. And while the majority of our sales at that point were actually generated from our retail stores, we made a decision on March, an ominous March, Friday the 13th, to close all of our 120 plus stores across the country. We were the first national optical retailer to do so. We were one of the first national retailers in a category to do so. And we kept all our stores closed for a period of at least 2 months, and then started staggered reopenings with limited capacity in all of our stores. Now we have over 140 stores open that are all at kind of full capacity, welcoming customers in. But over the course of the pandemic, we changed every part of how we engage with customers and created a contactless shopping experience in our stores so that our team members went through daily health safety checks. We mandated mask wearing in our stores for our team and customers, regardless of local regulations. We checked temperatures. We did regular COVID testing of all our team members. And then we rebuilt all the technology in our stores to create a completely contactless shopping experience. So we delivered technology that enabled our team to take necessary measurements like pupillary distance to get a customer's prescription information, to enable them to try on glasses in a safe manner with enhanced safety protocols. And so kind of the day-to-day tasks that our team engaged in changed dramatically from prior to the pandemic to how they were able to continue to serve customers throughout the pandemic. And then we thought a lot about how do we ensure that we're maintaining communication and culture and continuity within our team, especially given how much stress there was on every individual at the company and how quickly things were changing throughout the course of the pandemic. And so um, we used to have a weekly all hands meeting that we would record kind of a short video and share that with our retail teams. My co-founder Neil and I decided that we needed high frequency of communication. And so we started recording 2 short videos, 3 to 5 minutes each, with updates on what was going on both within the company, but also what we were learning from experts around some of the leading experts around the spread of the pandemic and how we could keep each other safe, not only within the 4 walls of our stores and in our physical locations, but also best practices that people should be abiding by outside of a work context. And we also thought a lot about how can we engage our team in ways that are most beneficial to our customers and most beneficial to those employees. And so when we closed all of our stores, we saw an immediate spike in our e-commerce sales. And we saw our e-commerce sales grow north of 100% year over year for most of the pandemic. And that meant that we needed a lot of additional help on our customer experience team serving all those online orders. And so we offered positions on our customer experience team to those retail team members whose stores were not open yet, or whose stores were operating at limited capacity. And we had a couple hundred people from our retail team that were retrained to serve customers via phone, live chat, text, and be able to kind of maintain continuity across teams throughout that period.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you took the question right out of my mouth. I've heard from a lot of brands that one way to mitigate the effects of the past year when stores were closed was to reassign workers to online fulfillment jobs. So it's great to see that you were able to keep a good number of your employees still with the team during that store closure period. Now, I want to shift forward in time now and talk about the immediate openings that you have in the pipeline for the rest of 2021. So around 35 stores I've read in the Wall Street Journal and other outlets are on the docket for you in the year ahead. And I'm really curious about what makes you confident in all of these openings from a workforce perspective. I've also seen out in the ether, and I'm sure our listeners have as well, that it's a tight labor market right now. Places are having to offer all sorts of incentives and deals to get people to even come in for an interview. So when you look at all of these stores that you have to build a great customer experience at and have to hire a lot of people to make that happen, what's making you confident in your roadmap for all of these openings from a workforce perspective?
Yeah, so we remain big believers in physical retail and believe that the best brands and the best retailers need to offer great customer experiences, both online and offline, and give consumers choice in how they engage. And we find that the majority of our customers now are engaging with us through multiple channels. So they might download our app, they might create a list of favorites on our website, and then go into their local store to try on glasses before they transact. Or they might try on some glasses in a store and then wait to make that transaction from home once they get feedback from their family members or friends or check their insurance benefits. And so while the pandemic really changed how consumers engage with all businesses over the last 16 plus months, we do expect that things will normalize, and there will be certain trends that have been pulled forward, and people will feel more comfortable shopping online than they did before. But we still believe that the best experience that we can offer all of our customers is by having a blend of offline and online shopping, and that enables people to get their prescriptions, so people can go in and get comprehensive eye exams at many of our locations through our optometrists, They can also use our telemedicine offering online to renew their prescriptions. People can try on glasses in our store. They can also do so at home through our home try-on and our virtual try-on. And then, of course, they can transact either online or offline. And we fundamentally believe that continuing to invest in both our digital experiences and our offline experiences will create the best shopping experience for all of our customers. And we are actually leaning in more heavily into physical retail, despite the events of the last year and a half. And this year we'll open over 35 stores. It's the most that we've ever opened in a year. And we're finding really great deals with landlords who I think are finding that some other brands and some other retailers are a bit nervous because they have seen softness in their retail stores. We've seen a lot of strength in our business. We've been able to continue to serve customers continuously throughout the pandemic. And I saw a big shift to those customers moving online. And now over the last few weeks are seeing a lot of those customers shift back into our stores and are more confident than ever that creating options for customers is the right strategic move for our business. And as it relates to labor, there's no question that this is a tougher labor market than anything that we've seen in our history as a business since we launched 11 years ago. But we're not finding that we're facing some of the same challenges as other retailers. We've always really led with our values as an organization and been clear about those values and have been able to attract people and retain team members who are driven by a desire to work for an organization that has impact, that has a social mission. Something that we're really proud of is that we've distributed millions of pairs of glasses to people in need. We've been 100% carbon neutral since the day we launched. We have made big commitments to investing in local communities and in different pillars of our racial equity strategy, and are finding that kind of those qualities are increasingly important to employees and candidates for different roles. And so we continue to attract a lot of talent, both at our retail locations and for corporate roles.
Mm-hmm. And getting a little bit more specific about your recruiting roadmap for the more than 35 stores that you're opening this year, I'd love to hear a bit about the most important roles that you're trying to fill in these new locations and the responsibilities that come with them. Have there been any major changes in terms of the types of positions you're hiring for, both for your stores and for online fulfillment, that is really kind of coming to fruition with these new stores opening?
Every role is important. So it's hard to say that one is the most important. Mm-hmm. I'd say an area that we are focusing more on is around vision services and our ability to make it really easy for our customers to get new prescriptions. And as we open new stores across the country, it's an opportunity for us to build out eye exam rooms and have locations where customers can come in and get a comprehensive eye exam. If you look at our business historically, it's primarily been selling glasses online and offline, but we can only sell those glasses if someone has a valid prescription. And we find that our customers tell us that there's a lot of friction in getting those prescriptions. It's frustrating when people know that they see perfectly well out of their existing glasses or contacts, but they're not able to transact with us. They find that if they go to another optometrist, they're kind of forced to exit through the gift shop and have an awkward conversation around why they don't want to buy a $500 pair of glasses and why they just want their prescription information so that they buy glasses from us. And so offering more locations where customers can come in and get a quick and simple eye exam with us is something that is a big priority. And as kind of part of our effort to recruit and build great career paths for optometrists, we've partnered with some great schools, including the New England College of Optometry. And in particular, one thing that we've been focusing on is that right now, less than 3% of optometrists in the US identify as Black or African American. And it's a great career path, and there's no reason that there shouldn't be more diversity in the field of optometry. And so as part of our racial equity strategy that we rolled out last year, I apologize, we created full scholarships for Black optometry students through NECO, the New England College of Optometry, which is one of the top optometry schools in the country, and are trying to figure out kind of how we can use Warby Parker as a platform really to level up the rest of the industry.
That's fantastic to hear. And, a great follow-up to the conversation that you and I had in August around Warby Parker's social responsibility efforts and initiatives. In the scope of your response to my last question, it sounded like there are a lot of varied responsibilities in the stores, from operating the eye exams to using some of the new tech that you mentioned kind of at the top of our conversation to, just bringing up purchases and having a lot of product knowledge and getting to talk to the customer. And I imagine that in this new, heavily omni-channel environment, as we've also spoken about, there are a different set of responsibilities and tasks that a store associate has to have under their belt to, make it through the workday and make sure that they're being the best representative for a brand as possible. So I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit about the training that store associates have at your new locations to prepare them for all of these myriad responsibilities, and how the training aspect of things has evolved over the course of the business in the past, 14 or 16 months. Like, what are, managers or leadership saying to store associates to get them ready to be prepared for work in this changing retail environment?
Yeah, so we've never seen as much change as quickly as we have over the last year and a half, and that has caused us to really increase the frequency of trainings and think about the right medium to have those trainings. And so we have a lot of digital tools where people log in to their iPad for work, and there are trainings that they need to go through. And we've built all our own technology system. So it's one unified system that sits across our retail stores. It also powers our online experience. And so there's a lot of cohesion that goes between our teams on the ground in our retail stores and our CX teams who are engaging with customers as they call in, text or live chat or email. We also, so we've been pushing out trainings much more frequently as we change policies, as we roll out new technology to be able to serve customers. And one of the big advantages that we've had over the last year and a half is control over that technology platform, so that as we have tried to redesign some of our shopping experience in store, we've been able to push out those new tech features, like our ability to digitally measure someone's pupillary distance within weeks, when other retailers that don't control that technology in their store really haven't had the ability to do so. And so then rolling out new trainings that go along with that technology, we have been also been able to do that digitally and in a remote manner. We also think it's super important to provide continuity and learnings from our existing stores. And so we have a new store opening team that kind of travels city by city. And as we open new stores, they bring a lot of learnings from other stores that they've worked in to get those new stores up to speed as quickly as possible. And also now feel fortunate we have over 140 stores across the country. and a lot of team members that are eager to take on new responsibilities and new opportunity. And so we try to encourage mobility within our store network, and especially as we're opening new stores to ensure that there are people who have already been kind of indoctrinated in the ways of working at Warby Parker, who can serve as a foundation for those new locations as well.
Mhm. It's interesting to hear that there are a lot of opportunities for, mobility within the organization and across different retailers right now. I also know that, wages are a really hot topic, understanding that workers, having been exposed to a lot of things on retail so-called front lines in the past year, do expect more from their employers in this environment. So has Warby Parker thought at all about raising the base wage for its store associates, or compensation, packages across the board for its store workers?
Yeah, so we've always paid above minimum wage, and have always offered competitive wages and benefits, and that's as true to today as it has been over the life of the company. As we noted before, there's more competition than ever for talent, and employees have higher standards than ever. They're expecting more of their employers than ever, and part of that is compensation. Part of that is career pathing. Part of that is upward mobility, and something. And I think something that is different is that there has been a lot of stimulus from the government. There have been more lucrative unemployment benefits, and so I think there's more choice, which we think is a good thing. It really levels up what employers need to offer to the most talented people in the country to ensure that they're attracting the best employees and retaining them. And so we haven't had to change kind of any of our comp packages in a meaningful way, but it is something that we continue to monitor and want to make sure that we continue to be really a great destination for some of the most talented people across the country.
Hmm. And so that makes me wonder, in the scope of the overall business, and as you're pursuing more of these store expansion opportunities, what are the signals to you that Warby Parker does in fact have a good reputation among its store associates, or is a place that, someone who's looking for work would want to go as a place to apply? What tells you that you're, building a place where employees want to be on the store level?
Yeah, so we start by asking our current employees and try to get as much feedback from them as possible.
Hmm.
We try to encourage 100% participation in our employee engagement surveys, which are anonymous surveys, and give us a great indication of what's going well within the company, and what we can improve, and where the areas that need additional attention. And what's been a bit surprising to us is that our employee engagement scores are higher than they have ever been. And
Wow.
we know that the events of the last year and a half have caused so much stress and tension, and have been unprecedented in so many ways for our team members. I think a lot of our efforts to ensure that our team members feel safe, that we're communicating and connecting and collaborating as a team, even if we're not seeing each other in much as person as we were before, are really paying off. And so we use that as kind of our employee engagement scores as a very important piece of input in what's going well and what's not. We also actually survey our job candidates. So we try to get a candidate experience score and understand, even for people that aren't offered jobs or don't take jobs that are offered, to really get as much feedback from them as possible, and then collect all that, try to understand what's working well, where we should be doubling down, areas that we might need to course correct to ensure that we're aligning candidate expectations with our kind of internal roles.
And what are you seeing in terms of retention across your current store footprint for employees?
So we saw extremely low turnover throughout the course of the pandemic. As the economy has started to reopen, we're finding that there is more competition for talent than ever, and a lot of companies are hiring. There's a lot of outreach, and then the events over the last year and a half have also caused a lot of individuals to rethink where they want to live, what they want to spend their time on, and is causing some people to think about moving to completely different career paths. And so we're certainly seeing an uptick in turnover relative to what we saw in 2020. But it's roughly in line with what we were seeing before the pandemic. And talking to a lot of other peer companies, they're seeing significantly elevated turnover and lower retention than they did prior to the pandemic. We haven't felt that as much. And I think probably the primary reason to that is due to our social mission and our values, and the fact that we have so many of our employees want to work for Warby Parker for reasons other than just finding the highest compensation than they could for that role.
hmm And that brings me to probably what's going to end up being our last question. I saw the clock has turned red on my end, which means we're running out of time. But I've seen in recent reports that Warby Parker has confidentially filed for an initial public offering, which is an incredible milestone in the life cycle of a company. And going public would obviously mean a bit more scrutiny for you, or more eyes on what you're doing with your workforce and how things are playing out at your stores. So I'm wondering, in general terms, if you can, what becoming a public entity or publicly traded company would change or influence in Warby Parker's approach to its store workforce, if anything?
Yeah, so we've always been focused on sustainable growth, and
hmm
we have told our team that our goal and ultimate objective is for Warby Parker to be one of the most impactful brands in the world 100 years from now. And so we're now 11 years in, and really still building the foundation for our brand, for our business, for the impact that we think is possible. And over the years, we've raised quite a bit of capital from venture and growth investors, over $500 million, and have committed to those investors that at some point we will offer liquidity to shareholders, but we've never been in a rush to do so. And as we think about kind of our future, we want to ensure that we're really stakeholder centric, and considering our shareholders as an important stakeholder, but the shareholders are going to get the most value if we continue to really focus on all the areas that we have to date, investing in our customers, in our brand, in the customer experience, in our social mission, in the team, in offering the best holistic vision care experiences in the world. And so that remains our focus. And if we do go public at some point, our focus will not change, and we'll continue to really try to deliver on the vision that we've laid out over the last 11 plus years, and wouldn't expect that any of our priorities would change, regardless of what our capital structure looks like.
Well, I look forward to seeing however it is that this plays out over the next couple of months and years. And certainly we'll be wanting to pay a visit to one of your new stores in the coming months. But it looks like we are coming to the end of our time today. It's crazy how fast 30 minutes can fly by when you're hearing from one of the foremost leaders in retail. So, Dave, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us about the latest goings on at Warby Parker and how it's affecting your workforce.
Great. Thanks for having me on.
It was such a pleasure speaking with you. And for everyone listening, thank you so much for tuning in this afternoon. The checkout is going to be back in July for an event all about the world of resale. I'm sure you've heard a lot about it in Retail Brew and other places, and we can't wait to dive deeper. But until then, from the entire team at Retail Brew, thank you so much for tuning in with us this afternoon, and we hope you have a fantastic week.